Next, friends with benefits. PM's visit to Singapore is an indication of its relevance to India's growth story. कि how they are linked etc. जैसे अगर हम 1990 से बात करते हैं तो सिंगापुर has been a critical factor as India framed a regional policy look east और फिर act east. तो sectoral dialogue partner फिर full dialogue partner in of ASEAN, that is Association of Southeast Asian Nations. तो unexpected role है in South Asia on account of Myanmar as well. In effect, bridge between South and Southeast Asia. म्यांमार की अगर जब हम बात करते हैं तो इंडिया की जो proximity है to Myanmar and Singapore's association through ASEAN means that it will also be part of India-Singapore agenda. तो यहाँ पे other countries की भी बात हो रही है कि how Myanmar, China and other such important countries they become important apart from just Singapore in the Act East policy. जबरी आपको ऐड करना है
एफडीआई में इम्पोर्टेंट रोल प्ले करता है। सिंगापुर की बात करते हैं तो उसके अलावा जो 6 लार्जेस्ट जो भी ट्रेड रिलेटेड देखा जाता है वो सिंगापुर के साथ है, क्योंकि 11.77 अरब डॉलर के अप्रोक्स एफडीआई का जो सबसे ज्यादा एफडीआई है वो सिंगापुर से देखने के लिए मिलते हैं। सेमीकंडक्टर से रिलेटेड भी देखा जाता है कि उनको सिंगापुर के साथ बायलैटरल रिलेशनशिप के रिगार्डिंग है, किस तरह से जो हरित हाइड्रोजन सेमीकंडक्टर मिशन है उसके लिए कनेक्टेड है। उसके अलावा जब हम बात करते हैं हाल ही अभी रिसेंटली हमने डिस्कस किया था विस्तारा के अंदर भी सिंगापुर से रिलेटेड अथॉरिटी थी जिनका 25 पॉइंट कुछ परसेंट शेयर था। विस्तारा के मर्ज की बात करते हैं तो वो भी उससे रिलेटेड।
ऑल्सो सिंगापुर के अलावा वी हैव मॉरिशस ऑल्सो। जब हम ओवरऑल आसियान की बात कर रहे हैं तो सिंगापुर एंड मॉरिशस दे आर द टॉप एफडीआई प्लेयर्स फ्रॉम विच वी आर हैविंग द हाईएस्ट एफडीआई इनफ्लो इन इंडिया. Then secondly, we can also talk about the importance of Indonesia when it comes to the import of edible oils. So there also ASEAN has important role in terms of India's growth story.
Next, the new internationalism. Rahul Gandhi and PM Modi's upcoming visits to the US. They show how political parties across the spectrum are expanding their outreach, building bridges with diaspora. So again, this is regarding various parties, how they have worked in their own ways to expand visits, जिससे कि और ज़्यादा strategic ties they will be created. जैसे as India rises to be major economy and military part, also global interest in its markets and geopolitics has inevitably grown. So this national response in form of intensified engagement with the world is mediated more by government agencies, corporate sector, academia, media, think tanks or non-governmental organizations. लेकिन जो decline हो रहा है with the engagement of political class is unfortunate given the unprecedented changes unfolding in the world. तो expansive internationalism की बात हो रही है from the late 19th to the mid 20th century. तो यानी ओवरसीज फ्रेंडशिप को इंक्रीज करना इज इम्पोर्टेंट एंड मेजर जो इंडिया का आइडिया ऑफ मल्टीलेटरलिज्म उसके साथ साथ नॉन अलाइनमेंट के साथ साथ हाउ वी कैन बिल्ड मोर टाइज फॉर द ओवरऑल डेवलपमेंट.
So India's two-way trade, it is contributing 40% to our GDP. So it reflects again the role of external demand also, particularly when we're talking about boosting the exports. Then role of Indian diaspora is important when we are seeing that they are amongst the top positions, the most senior positions when we are looking at or studying the US economy and the employment sector. So we can say the intellectual or the intelligence of the Indians, even when we're talking about amongst the top CEOs, they are also Indians. And like we have Geeta Gopinath ma'am, she's in IMF, or Anand Banga sir, he's in World Bank. So it reflects this thing also.
Hmm. A matter of food safety. So as I've already seen, there have been several cases with regard to food and even drug safety, for example. जैसे कि even cough syrup में भी there had been a chemical that was present, और फिर ethyl oxide का presence भी in the food packaging की जब हम बात करते हैं, that was above the maximum residue limit. तो उसके रिगार्डिंग भी कि हाउ फूड सेफ्टी एंड व्हाई फूड सेफ्टी इज सो इम्पोर्टेंट. तो इम्पोर्टेंट रोल आ जाता है FSSAI का, फिर फूड एंड एग्रीकल्चरल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, देन मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फूड प्रोसेसिंग इंडस्ट्रीज. तो उसके रिगार्डिंग भी एंड कैसे हम बेटर फैसिलिटीज को एनहांस कर सकते हैं सिंस फ्रॉम फार्म्स देमसेल्व्स टिल फोक. तो फार्म में कैसे अगेन यूज ऑफ पेस्टिसाइड्स, कितना एक्सपोजर हो रहा है टू द वीडीसाइड्स एटसेट्रा, एंड वहीं से कितना न्यूट्रिशन है, द क्वालिटी ऑफ सॉइल एटसेट्रा. उसके बाद मेजरली फूड प्रोसेसिंग में व्हाट आर द हार्मफुल माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स, उनको एलिमिनेट करने के लिए क्या क्या स्टेप्स लिए जा सकते हैं. फिर इरेडिएशन प्रोसेसिंग, जिसमें कि सिर्फ एक एक्सपोजर ट्रीटमेंट करना चाहिए to achieve the desired effects rather than adding on so many preservatives and बार-बार radiation का use करना for the increase in shelf life of the food products and उनकी safety को भी enhance करना. तो मेजरली यहाँ पे irradiation technology की बात हो रही है in this article, how that can help in
So,
creating.
for example, if we talk about different irradiation centers for this particular facility and services in India, so the top one is Bhabha Atomic Research Center. So it is having different initiatives under the Department of Atomic Energy. So we have developed, for example, Krushak. Krushak, it stands for Krushi Utpadan Sanrakshan Kendra, and this is in Maharashtra, this facility, and it provides gamma radiation to irradiate agricultural products, for example, onions and spices. And then there is pulsed electron accelerator, which is again used for the same purpose. Second, we have radiation processing for spices. So this is the Vashi Gamma Radiation Processing Facility in again Navi Mumbai. And this is managed by the Board of Radiation and Isotope Technology in India for again tracking or ensuring that the spices and the herbs, they are free from microbial contamination. So spices like turmeric, chili powder, black pepper, these are processed to reduce the microbial load and eliminate the pathogens in them. Because of late, again, we are seeing that Indian spices, they have come under again the scanner as far as the safety is concerned, or even we are seeing the concern of adulteration, particularly in spices. Then mango irradiation is an example when we're talking about ensuring compliance with the phytosanitary measures under the WTO. So in case of mango exports also, which are particularly sent to US and Europe, so irradiated mangoes, they are sent, and the maximum of these facilities are in Maharashtra itself. And then private sector participation is also there. We are seeing the participation of Radiant Foods Irradiation Facility, which is based in Bangalore. So this is also focusing on the same lines, dehydrated vegetables, so that again their shelf life is more. And even for the pet foods for both domestic and the export markets. So there are three benefits: food safety, extended shelf life, phytosanitary compliance of the WTO norms.
Yes, Ji, thank you for adding. Next, harnessing biotechnology for economic development. So here comes the important role of biotechnology, and we talk about साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी। तो उसमें भी इनोवेशन की जब हम बात करते हैं, R&D की जब हम बात करें, रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट, उसमें ज्यादा कंट्रीब्यूशन आना चाहिए। एंड सिमिलरली वी हैव बायोटेक्नोलॉजी। तो सेंटर अनवील्ड इट्स बायो E3, that is biotechnology for economy, environment and employment policy last week. So, which means के all the three aspects that are economy, environment और employment, इन सब के लिए they will be used. तो क्या क्या potential इसके benefits हैं, and specifically bio E3 policy इंडिया को कैसे benefit कर सकती है? These are the major points that are here. कि जो biotechnology के potential benefits है, again they are very wide and diverse areas में, जैसे chemically produced जो traditional plastics हैं, they can be replaced by a range of bioplastics, जैसे कि polylactic acid that are biodegradable, और further जो लेस पोल्यूटिंग बायोलॉजिकल प्रोसेस है दे कैन बी, जैसे कि जब हम बात करते हैं सिंथेटिक क्लोथ्स की, प्लास्टिक्स की, या मीट और मिल्क की भी, तो दे कैन ऑल्सो बी रिप्लेस, जैसे कि एनिमल फ्री मिल्क जो सेम है टेक्सचर, टेस्ट और न्यूट्रिशनल बेनिफिट्स में, जैसे कि नेचुरल मिल्क। तो प्रिसिजन फर्मेंटेशन से इट कैन बी क्रिएटेड। तो यानी कि हर एस्पेक्ट में, बीट फूड, क्लोथ्स या इवन प्लास्टिक्स, these biochemical processes they can help in creating such desirable traits कि पता ही नहीं है कि natural product क्या था and now what are the newly created products. इंडिया की बात करते हैं तो specifically use of biological organisms or processes in the industrial production of goods and material. तो इसका जो economic impact होएगा, it will be worth $2 to $4 trillion over the next decade. तो बहुत ज्यादा हाई इसका ग्रोथ है and very much scope. Further, when we talk about artificial intelligence mission, quantum mission, green hydrogen mission, so there are also attempts to enable India to develop and harness futuristic technologies. और ऐसे ही बायो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हब्स इनका क्रिएट करना, दिस विल बूस्ट इन ऑल द थ्री एस्पेक्ट। और ये हब्स है किन किन एरियाज पे फोकस करेंगे? केमिकल एंजाइम्स पे, फंक्शनल फूड्स एंड स्मार्ट प्रोटीन्स पे, प्रिसिजन बायोथेरेप्यूटिक्स, फिर केमिकल क्लाइमेट रेजिलिएंट एग्रीकल्चर, कार्बन कैप्चर यूटिलाइजेशन, और फ्यूचरिस्टिक मरीन और स्पेस फीचर्स, यानी कि वेरी डाइवर्स from food to space to agriculture to even climate. So all these areas they will be harnessed.
So if we mention the examples, for example, the applications in agriculture biotechnology, we have the genetically modified crops. For example, we talk about BT cotton. Then when we are talking about biofortified crops, which will be helping in dealing with the nutritional security, here we have the golden rice, which is enriched with vitamin A. Then we have iron-rich pearl millets. And in healthcare and pharmaceuticals, that it is mentioning the biotherapeutics also. So here we have the important players like Biocon or Dr. Reddy's Laboratories and then Cipla. So they are generating the biosimilars. So what are biosimilars? So these are the generic versions of the biologic drugs. And example is like Biocon has produced or it has made Insugen, which is the human insulin. It helps in again dealing with the condition of diabetes. Then similarly, we have one for the breast cancer also. So these are again biopharmaceuticals produced in India. Then the technology will also help in development of vaccines and then the genomics and the personalized medicines also. Then in environmental aspect, we talk about bioremediation, treatment of again the waste or processing of waste by again the Indian Agriculture Research Institute. So they have developed a particular microbia, which is the for the bioremediation of heavy metals from the soil and the wastewater. So even treatment of like the polluted waters in rivers like Yamuna and even for cleaning up the oil spills. Then biofuels, as this article is also mentioning. So even under our national policy on biofuels, we are promoting the target of like, for example, E20 ethanol 20% blending in petrol. In industrial applications, enzyme production. So, for example, here we have the players like Novozymes, which operate in India, and applications are in detergents, textiles, food processing. Then biofertilizers and biopesticides are also being produced. For example, the company like, and then Ajay Biotech, they are producing these biofertilizers like uh, Azotobacter, then Azaropyrillium. These are the examples which help in nitrogen fixation and phosphate solubilization and pest control. Then in terms of marine biotechnology, we have the Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute, and this will be helping in more like aquaculture, in fish breeding, in disease resistance, and feed efficiency in the aquaculture will be improving, and bioactive compounds. So these are for exploring the marine resources for the bioactive compounds with pharmaceuticals and industrial applications. For example, the compounds are these derived from the marine organisms like we have sponges and algae. So these are being studied for the potential development and their scope in terms of manufacturing more drugs. Then in diagnostics and research tools, we are seeing like molecular diagnostics. So here, the biotechnology will help in the development of rapid and accurate detection methods for the diseases. Like we have TrueNat. So this is for TB. And it is portable also and provides real-time PCR device for the rapid detection of infectious diseases like TB, even COVID-19, we were using it, and for HIV as well. Then CRISPR-Cas9 technology is also again an example of this. And we have the National Institute of Biomedical Genomics. So government's Department of Biotechnology is supporting, which is under the Ministry of Science and Technology. And we have BIRAC, like we have BARC for atomic energy. For biotech, we have BIRAC, which is the Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council. So it is taking care of funding and the support to even the startups which are there. And okay, these are, and we also have National Biotechnology Development Strategy. So here the aim is to bolster India's biotech sector through innovation, infrastructure development, and collaboration with global stakeholders also. Like in terms of, again, ethanol, we are collaborating with Brazil. Okay, next topic.
Attacks and deaths in Bahrain. Why and when wolves turn on humans? The wolf in Rajasthan takes out the liver, the organ that is richest in nutrients, before competitors crowd the kill. Now a wolf coming outside its den. So the major killing sprees began around March when Indian wolf pups are weaned from milk and the pack must hunt to feed them meat. So now there have been growing attacks by wolves. यहाँ पे एंशियंट मैथोलॉजी लिटरेचर का रिलेशन बता रखा है, जैसे महाभारत में भी Bhim's ravenous appetite was established as Vrikodara, wolf stomach, with reference to voracious wolf. So during the Raj, killers and killed. Then again, killing the wolves. Elusive nature and absence of any commercial interest, rather than their plain hide. The wolves that eat people. So all large predators can potentially prey on people, with no exception. But ऐसा rarely होता और exceptional circumstances में.
So we can say that this is also another example of man-animal conflict, and the reasons can be again the destruction of the natural habitat because of deforestation, fragmentation of habitat, and they're again in search of food there. coming out of their habitats. So we are looking into wolves. So these are native to India, and there are two distinct subspecies of wolves which are found in India. One is the Indian wolf, and the second is the Himalayan wolf. So Indian wolf, it is native to India, Pakistan, Nepal, and Iran, adapted to grasslands, scrublands, and semi-arid regions. And in India, we are having their presence in Gujarat, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and like, for example, Deccan Plateau, Thar Desert. And apart from this, their conservation status, IUCN status, is endangered for Indian wolves. And they are under the Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 as well. Coming to Himalayan wolves, so the name is, it's a very clear, found in the higher altitudes of Himalayas and distinct from the Indian wolf, primarily found in trans-Himalayan regions of Ladakh, Himachal Pradesh, and certain parts of Uttarakhand. And they are adapted to cold and rugged terrain of the Himalayas. So they have thick fur coat, they're well suited to the cold environments, and their IUCN status is also endangered. So we have very small population size left for particularly the Himalayan wolves because of, again, the habitat fragmentation and then retaliatory killings by people, and even poaching is a concern. So we have the protected areas like the Kutch Wildlife Sanctuary in Gujarat, then Noradai Wildlife Sanctuary in Madhya Pradesh, then Great Himalayan National Park in Himachal Pradesh.
Next, OpenAI's Project Strawberry and the promise of AI's next breakthrough. So again, there's the most powerful AI model that OpenAI will release, the new version of chatbot and virtual assistant that it recently launched in 2022. तो ये feature करेगा autonomous internet research and it will dramatically improve AI reasoning capabilities. And OpenAI का push भी build करा है to create artificial general intelligence, जो कि similar capabilities होंगी with the human brain. तो बस training की need है and creating of synthetic data, algorithms, how the algorithms they learn patterns, correlation or statistical properties of the sample data. So training के बाद again it will mimic the human mind's pathway.
So we can say Project Strawberry can fill the gaps in real world data sets. It will be helping in data analytics, and it will provide more wholesome, inclusive, and balanced training set. So we can just remember that Project Strawberry is related to OpenAI, and then again, Project Q Star is also related to OpenAI. Sometimes we have these terms, and the question is that it is related to what?
Next, NFRA may refuse to budge on proposed audit upgrade plan. So National Financial Reporting Authority. So this is regarding the is unlikely to roll back or materially change जो इन्होंने plan propose करा है to upgrade the international standard on auditing 600 despite the concerns that are raised by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Delhi. तो क्या मेजर यहाँ पे concerns है?
So यहाँ पे जो change किया जा रहा है, that is the draft ISA 600 standards, which are in sync with the global norms. And here the, again, RBI and SEBI, which are again key regulators, they are on same page as far as NFRA is concerned. But the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, they believe that if it is implemented, so it will push most of the India's audit firms out of the business. So we'll have to look into what are the minute in particular details. Coming to NFRA, it is a statutory body established in 2018 under the provisions of Companies Act of 2013. And this is again regulatory body after it was established because we saw several corporate accounting scandals to again issues the gap in to address the issues which are related to audit quality and financial reporting. So the jurisdiction of NFRA is listed companies in India. It looks into, again, the accounting standards and timely disclosure of the reports, more transparency and accountability as far as the financial and the fiscal prudence is concerned. Then unlisted companies, unlisted public companies with a paid up capital of rupees 500 crore or more, they should have annual turnover of rupees 1000 crore and more, and with the outstanding loans, debentures and deposits of rupees 500 crore and more. So these are also under the jurisdiction of NFRA. And thirdly, we have the insurance companies, banking companies, which are engaged in generation and supply of electricity, and companies governed by any special act for the time being in force. Fourth is the companies or entities which are referred by the central government. So it is also regulating, apart from these different segments of companies, it regulates the auditors and the audit firms also. Then quality review, investigations and disciplinary actions are also taken by NFRA. Standard setting, as we have just seen, that we are trying to improve the quality standards, promote more of awareness, and it has the power to summon and enforce the attendance of the persons also, to examine them under their oath and inspect the books of accounts and the documents. And it can also impose penalties for even professional misconduct up to rupees 5 lakh, or even 5 times the fee received. So it has a chairperson which is appointed by the central government and who is supported by a full-time chief executive officer. And then other members are from representatives from Ministry of Corporate Affairs, SEBI, RBI, and other bodies. So they have introduced a data analytics platform recently to strengthen the oversight functions by analyzing financial and non-financial data to identify the changing trends and the outliers. And they have also published their first ever audit quality review reports, which provide detailed assessment of the audit quality and what are going to be the recommendations. Then it has also introduced guidelines on topics like audit quality indicators to promote more better practices as far as auditing is concerned.
Next, laptop IT hardware imports, they touch $5 billion. So again, imports of monitoring system of laptops or IT hardware products, it will end on September 30. Authorized companies, they have bought in around $5 billion worth of these products. So maximum imports, they have been from China, as was the case earlier as well. So again, import dependence ko kam karna, and the surge can be attributed to the move by the companies to stock up on these products. जो current system है वो expire कर जाएगा with many fearing curbs and bans. तो again यहाँ पे और ज़्यादा tight regulations लगाई जाएंगी over the quality etc. in case of imports. Next, training, yes, but not what industry requires. So despite being near big IT hubs, this ITI does not feature on the hiring map. So again, we had discussed about it previously as well. The government model ITI in Gurugram. So it is right in the middle of big IT and auto manufacturing hub. It was even struggling for funds themselves. So we studied the importance of the private institutes as well with regard to apart from the government themselves. क्योंकि उन्हीं में ज़्यादा enrollment they are seeing major. Next, center clears defense acquisition of 1.45 lakh crore. So 10 proposals includes air defense fire control radars, Dornier aircraft. तो मेजर यहाँ पे मेंशन होंगे क्या क्या टेक्नोलॉजीज हैं. So Defense Ministry, they approved the procurement of future-ready combat vehicles for the modernization. फिर Defense Acquisition Council, it also called on acceptance of necessity for these 10 capital acquisition proposals. So buy Indian and buy Indian indigenously designed, developed and manufactured. So these are two new key terms that we read here. So future ready combat vehicles, majorly they will be imported. So for carrying out surveillance, patrolling of maritime zones, search and rescue and disaster relief operations, इनके लिए majorly they will be used and produced
And
यहाँ पे procurement.
Defense Acquisition Council, it is the highest decision-making body in the Ministry of Defense, responsible for formulation and approval of policies and procedures for the procurement of, again, the military equipment and modernization of the armed forces. So it was established in 2001 as a part of, again, series of defense reforms following the recommendation of group of ministers which were formed after the Kargil War of 1999. So it is chaired by the Minister of Defense of India, and the other members are like the Chief of Defense Staff, CDS, then Chiefs of Army, Navy, and Air Force, Defense Secretary, then Secretary of Defense Production, Defense Finance, and the Director General of Acquisitions. So primary functions, as we've seen, approval of defense procurement proposals, formulation of acquisition plans. For example, the long-term integrated perspective plan is there. Services capital acquisition plan is there, annual acquisition plan is there for capital acquisitions. Then categorization of procurement is done, as you were just mentioning about buy Indian, then we have second buy Indian and buy and make in India. Then we have buy and make or buy global to encourage the domestic industry production. So we are like having the motto under Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat for self-reliant India, and procurement under Buy Indian category. So policy reforms are also there to improve the transparency, efficiency, and accountability. So we
Next.
are focusing on जो हमारा Defense Acquisition Plan 2020 है, which is the latest one. So we are focusing upon 4 key elements, emphasizing the indigenous content, simplifying the procedures, providing dedicated chapters on leasing the military equipments, like we have leased several submarines from Russia. Then we have including preference for Indian vendors and the MSMEs.
Next, investment rate of 36% needed for 8% GDP growth. So this again is regarding the importance of investment in कैसे वो GDP growth में help करती है, especially when it is regard to the private sector. जैसे कि जब हम बात करते हैं InvIT की और REIT की, that is Infrastructure Investment Trust and Real Estate Investment Trust. तो achieve an annual economic growth of 8%. अभी जो currently 7% के around stagnant है, India needs investment rate of 36% of the GDP. So Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority. So their chairman, he mentioned this thing. Next.
एक मिनट ऊपर चलो, ऊपर scroll. So he's mentioning that if we want to be a high income country of the next 25 years, we need to be growing at 8%. And even if we don't want to get stuck into the middle income trap also. So similarly, our per capita income needs to be increased. So we need to now focus upon or attract more of bank deposits, which are declined to 46% in India, and equity has risen to 7%. So the numbers are important here. And even mutual fund SIPs are increasing. So between 2000 to 2016, 81% of financial assets were held in cash and bank deposits by Indian households. Okay, I'm sharing the next link.